So today we're going to talk about how to level up. And it doesn't mean level up with money or buying a new car or buying a new house. It's leveling up yourself. Because a lot of times we're busying ourselves, we're doing things back to back. We go from one task to another. We think we should always be busy. We think that's how we're supposed to get ahead. And maybe that does help us get ahead in the worldly matters. But a lot of times we sacrifice ourselves in the process. Today, we're going to take a look at an article, 6 Surprising Benefits of Boredom and How to Approach Being Bored. Especially in the age of information and technology, we find ourselves bouncing from one device to another, watching all types of YouTube videos and Instagram posts and things saying how to be more productive, how to do this, how to do more, how to get more out of your day. But we need to level up ourselves in order to be the best that we can be for as long as we can be. We don't want to get burnt out. Without further ado, let's get into it. Again, this is called 6 Surprising Benefits of Boredom and How to Approach Being Bored. Explore what boredom is, including the causes and surprising benefits of being bored, plus what to do when you're bored with 7 tips to use boredom constructively. If you've spent any time around your children, you've probably heard them whine about being bored when the stimulation of their day begins to wane. Maybe it's tedious schoolwork or a long car ride, but boredom sets in and they'll tell you they're not happy about it. A lot of times when they're bored, it just means they're going through dopamine withdrawal. Boredom is just the pain of not engaging in the thing that artificially spikes dopamine. It's a withdrawal symptom. While adults may be a bit more patient with monotony, the truth is we've probably all felt bored at one time or another. We're not judging. After all, there's so many more interesting things to do than watching a clock during a long meeting or waiting for the train. While some people might view boredom as a problem signaling that they're in a rut, it may be getting an unnecessarily bad rap. Allowing ourselves to be bored can actually enhance our lives in unexpected ways and may even spawn creativity. Of course, because you're in the moment. You're internalizing, you're allowing yourself to daydream. We used to do this all the time as kids before the internet. When TV programs were on a schedule, you couldn't just jump on something and watch things whenever you wanted. So during the day, there really wasn't much for kids to do on TV or, there wasn't many console games. And so you just had to go out and play during the week you're in school, but on the weekend, you're usually outside playing, riding your bike or something like that. And you weren't really bored. Like I don't recall myself being bored when I was young. So what is boredom? Boredom is that pesky feeling we experience when we're not interested in our thoughts surrounding our activities. This might result in finding yourself with nothing else to do. It's a feeling that can be accompanied by a sense of lethargy and can sometimes lead to frustration or restlessness. Although it's a common experience, boredom is frequently misunderstood. Many people equate boredom with laziness or lack of ambition, but boredom isn't inherently negative. It's a natural response to a lack of stimulation, and it can be a signal that our current environment or activity isn't meeting our cognitive or emotional needs. Boredom can prompt us to find more meaningful experiences. We do see boredom as negative because it is a withdrawal symptom, and it is a lack of stimulation. And our day and age, stimulation is in excess. Video games, social media especially, these are designed to spike dopamine, or these neurotransmitters in our brain, to give us a higher sense of euphoria. And so when we go away from those things or take a break, our dopamine crashes below baseline and puts us into a state of pain. Because like I said in other videos, our brain is trying to keep a balance between pleasure and pain. It's trying to always maintain homeostasis. And if we're engaging in something that's spiking dopamine for a long period of time, the brain wants to restore balance. So what it does is it'll start removing dopamine receptor sites, not allowing dopamine to continue to flourish. And so we crash. And then you're scrolling, or they call it doom scrolling, when you're just scrolling and you're not even getting anything out of it. You're just doing it for the sake of going through the exercise. And maybe you catch yourself, ugh, man, I don't feel like doing this anymore. So we get bored. So maybe we jump to another app or something to try to continue that dopamine surge. There are 2 main types of boredom. Transient boredom occurs daily and typically resolves with a change in activity. Chronic boredom, a more persistent feeling that might require deeper inspection or changes to lifestyle. Also, another reason why being bored can be uncomfortable is because for some of us, we're using these substances or behaviors to distract us from an internal pain that we have. Some of us don't feel comfortable in our skin. A lot of us grew up with trauma. And so these things help us to forget about our problems or to get away from those negative feelings. And so sometimes, depending on the amount of trauma you have, it may require more and more powerful tools or substances to get out of that pain. One of the main reasons why people do illicit drugs, people who use hardcore drugs, they're trying to not feel the way they feel without the drugs, even if they're not addicted. This is how they become addicted. Some people will try a drug and go, oh, that was wild, that was different. And then they may not do it again for a while. But for some people, they try a drug and they're like, wow, that really, for once, I've felt relief. So they get something totally different out of it because of their experiences. Another key factor in boredom can be a lack of control over your situation. If you can't change your circumstances, it may make it difficult to engage fully, which can lead to a sense of disconnection from your activities. Personal expectations or societal pressures can also be behind some of our feelings of boredom. If there's a mismatch between what we want to do and what we're currently doing, it can make boredom more likely. Similarly, if societal norms push us into roles or jobs that don't fit our likes, ambitions, or talents, we can feel frequently bored. So here they're just talking about just being bored. You're just not interested in what you're doing. And with more and more people developing this, what I call internet-induced ADHD, we're finding ourselves getting bored just doing pretty much anything. And it's linked to addiction. Very few people have an actual ADHD, a disorder. The link between anxiety and boredom. Anxiety and boredom can be connected in the following ways. Boredom can make us feel unproductive. For many, the idea of not doing anything can spark anxiety as we feel pressure to always be productive or engage in activity. Boredom can bring anxiety to the surface. When we're busy, it's easy to ignore or forget that we're anxious. When we have to do less, we're forced to contend with those feelings. That's what I mentioned before. Underlying trauma, worry, stress, we usually indulge in something to distract us from those things. Boredom can force us to reassess how we spend our time. Those who are bored because their daily activities don't align with their goals or taste might also experience anxiety as a result. While boredom can come with many downsides, such as feeling uninspired or lethargic, it can also lead to surprising benefits. One of the big benefits that I find by allowing myself to be bored, because what I used to do is, so I have a day job. If during the course of my work I started feeling like I needed to take a break, I would always take a break with some dopamine stimulating activity. So I would scroll on YouTube or scroll on social media or play a video game. Like I have a mobile game that I play. And this isn't what you want to do, because being focused and working, especially if you're doing some type of cognitive work, doing some type of deep work where you're thinking, let's say you're writing or you're studying, you don't want to use that and then jump to some dopamine producing activity, because you're just using up your dopamine. Like I said, the brain wants to keep a balance. So it'll start removing those dopamine receptors and your dopamine will start to crash, and then you'll feel bored, and then you start to procrastinate, and then you don't want to go back to doing the work you need to do. You just find yourself continuing to scroll or play video games. And those things will then appear to be boring because they just can't compete with the behavior. So I used to do those things, but now I allow myself to be bored. So if I'm working, I find myself getting a little bit like I need to take a break. I take a break. I go and maybe talk to my wife or one of my kids, or I go for a little walk out front, or I just look out the window. But what I'm doing is I'm allowing my brain to create that homeostasis, that balance of pleasure and pain naturally. I don't continue to spike the dopamine and continue until it just comes crashing down and I feel bored or I feel negative. You know, you can start to feel really negative and you don't feel like doing anything. That's usually when you've overdone the dopamine producing activity or substance, in the case sugar. Number one, enhanced creativity. Boredom can force your mind to wander and explore new ideas. When you're not focused on specific tasks, your brain has the opportunity to come up with innovative solutions or creative projects. This mental wandering can allow you to connect different ideas in new and interesting ways. Number two, increased self-awareness. Periods of boredom can offer opportunities for introspection. With fewer external distractions, you can reflect on your personal goals, desires, and behaviors. This can lead to a better understanding of who you are and what you truly want, helping you make more informed decisions about your life. Yeah, if we're busy scrolling all day, looking at other people's lives, entertaining ourselves to death, we lose ourselves. We don't create our own thoughts. And this, especially for teens and young kids, is very important to have these introspective moments, these times where they daydream, think about the world, think about themselves. But if they're constantly on a screen, they don't get that practice. And so when they get off of those devices, not only are they bored, they're not even accustomed to thinking. Your brain is saying, what are we doing here? What are we supposed to do? Where's the screen? How come we're not scrolling? Our brain is very adaptive. So if these devices are getting interwoven into our child's brains while the child's brain is developing, we don't need Neuralink. We don't need to physically attach computers to our brain. They're being attached developmentally. This is something we have to really be careful of. But increased self-awareness is a great benefit of being bored. Number three, opportunity for interests and passions. Feeling bored can be a sign that your current activities aren't fulfilling you, and this can prompt you to explore new pursuits that spark excitement and joy. This is also learned. You can only come up with ideas if you practice doing it. Everything is learned. If we're always engaging in something that's artificially spiking dopamine, those activities that we need to do and that are important for brain development, for personal development, are going to be just really boring. They just pale in comparison. If we're on social media, if we're playing a video game or whatever, going for a walk or looking at the sunset is going to be really boring. Unless you've been scrolling and doom scrolling for so long that you start feeling depressed and you have a need to just get out and go for a walk. The same with food. If all we eat are carbohydrates, when it's time to eat real food, it's not going to taste good. It's going to be boring, so to speak. So a lot of this is just dopamine control. And being bored is one of the most powerful ways of balancing your brain naturally instead of letting things get out of control and crashing, which negatively impacts our productivity. Number four, improved mental health. Taking breaks from a constant state of busyness can allow your mind to rest, reducing feelings of stress and overload. This can help maintain mental balance and prevent burnout. So for us, for example, praying 5 times a day, so when I first became Muslim and was introduced to the praying 5 times a day and everything, it took a while to get used to it because I always felt like it was interrupting my day. But that's my mindset. Prone to addiction, wanting to constantly be stimulated. So when it was time to pray, I would find myself kind of antsy or, time to pray, And so, but this is what's needed. A lot of times we need these guardrails. We have to feel uncomfortable because this is how we move forward. Things that are of value don't come easy. It takes effort. Salah also helps develop self-discipline. In my opinion, every aspect of the religion reinforces willpower and self-discipline because it's constantly going against our nafs, which helps us to elevate. Not physically, but you know what I'm saying. Number 5, motivation for goal reassessment. Boredom can prompt you to think about your current situation and goals. This can lead you to make changes that align more closely with your personal aspirations and values, setting the stage for more satisfying and meaningful connections. Again, you're not aligning your goals to people on social media. You're not comparing yourself to people online. I know I'm using internet and things as a example for a lot of this, but because that seems to be one of our biggest challenges nowadays, that and sugar, carbohydrates, that's why I use that as an example. This is usually what gets in the way of people being productive, something related to the internet. Number 6, additional problem-solving skills. When your mind is more relaxed, it can approach problems from new angles and develop better strategies for overcoming challenges. What to do when you're bored. Feeling bored can be an opportunity for reevaluating your life, reassessing your goals, and creating an action plan for rediscovering happiness and redirecting your energy to a pursuit of life that fulfills you. For a lot of people, this can be scary. Reevaluating your life, reassessing your goals. This can make us uncomfortable, but again, you want to get comfortable being uncomfortable. That's how we move forward. Practice acceptance. Acknowledge your boredom. It's a common emotion and not necessarily something that needs to be fixed immediately, so sit with the feeling without judgment. It's perfectly okay to do nothing at times. Often these quiet moments can lead you to some of your best insights and ideas. Again, the feeling to always be busy, being productive, more. We can start feeling guilty if we're just sitting around. Take a few moments to let yourself do nothing and give yourself permission to be. And also, sometimes after praying, we feel like we need to hurry up and go, get back to what we're doing. But if we pray our sunnah and make dhikr and just relax, this helps us ease back into our day. We don't want to just see Salah as something it's not a pit stop. You know, when the Daytona 500 or one of the, these car races, they have to make a pit stop, and they have to get in that pit stop and get out as fast as possible so they can get back on the track. We don't want our prayer to be this way. We don't want to speed through our prayer, and we don't want to speed away after the prayer either. Get creative. Think creatively about how to address your boredom, what might fulfill you in that moment. Maybe it's tackling a problem from a new angle, brainstorming ideas for a new project, or allowing yourself to daydream about a goal. 7 tips to use boredom constructively when you don't know what else to do. So now they're going to give us some ideas of what to do when we're bored. Sometimes even after trying to embrace and understand your boredom, you might still feel stuck. Luckily, by applying some intentional strategies, you can transform periods of boredom from time wasted to time well spent. And number 1, initiate a mini project. Start a small project like painting a picture or starting a new book. Small projects can occupy your mind and provide a sense of accomplishment. So here, they're not saying just sit and be bored and do nothing. They're saying, if you feel you need to do something, these are some things that can be beneficial to you. So painting a picture and starting a new book, these also produce dopamine, but it's in a natural way. It's not doing it artificially like our apps or sugar. It's more rewarding and there's no crash. Number 2, set personal goals. Use your idle time to reflect on your personal ambitions. Set goals to reinvigorate your enthusiasm for daily activities, which can help alleviate feelings of boredom. Again, another dopamine-producing activity, but naturally. Number 3, learn something new. Learning something new can be a fantastic way to redirect your focus and engage your brain. Look for online courses or local classes. This can actually become addictive in of itself. I know it sounds crazy, but learning can become addictive. We know the definition of addiction, which is doing something compulsively or doing something that's harming us, but we're still unable to stop. So I know learning sounds virtuous and good, but if you're doing it so much that it's negatively impacting your life and your relationships, you may need to cut back a little bit. Number 4, organize and declutter. Tackle clutter in your physical or digital space. This can be surprisingly satisfying and has the added benefit of making your environment more pleasant and functional, which can boost your mood and productivity. I do this. I typically clean or straighten up when I'm bored. It's a great distractor from being bored, and you get something out of it. You get things tidied up, you get things clean. Number 5, meditate or practice mindfulness. If you notice, this meditate is mentioned a lot in a lot of videos. For us, it's prayer, which is the ultimate form of quote unquote meditation. It's not meditation, but you know what I'm saying. And it's a mercy from Allah that Allah made it like the most important thing that we do. It's the first thing that we're questioned on the day of judgment is our prayer, because not only for the spiritual aspect of it, but just because it's so important and beneficial for us in this life. It resets our brain. It puts us in a state of calm. It breaks up the monotony in the day. It protects us from sin because we're letting the dopamine calm down. We're letting the thinking brain turn on, and we make better decisions. This is what helps us abstain from sin. For the most part, I mean, of course we sin, but you know what I'm saying. It really does help. And if you find that you're struggling and you're lacking self-control, check your prayers. And not that you're just doing them, but check your concentration, check your sincerity. Don't just go through the motions. Number 6, plan your next adventure. Arrange a future vacation or a day trip to give you something to look forward to, and also shift your focus to the possibilities ahead. This is good for kids. When my kids are bored, I don't just tell them, oh, I don't know what to do, I can't help you, go figure it out. I mean, that is the best way. They should learn how to come up with things to do when they're bored. But we can offer suggestions. We can make sure that we're watching halal shows or doing things that where our kids can join us. If we're always stuck doing our thing and we're using the screen as a digital babysitter or a distractor, when you decide you want to take it away, it's going to be difficult. They're going to be bored. They're going to have withdrawal. Doing things as a family, like even for my kids, what I try to do is even when they're having screen time, they're having their screen time in the living room. We're all together. Because what you don't want is your kid on a screen by themselves and being alone. Because if an addiction is starting to develop, you don't want them to be alone in that time, because this perpetuates the addiction and the guilt, being alone. We know how Shaitan loves a lone sheep. 7, volunteer your time. Find opportunities to volunteer your time, whether locally or online. Helping others can provide a deep sense of satisfaction and purpose, making your downtime feel more meaningful. So here we're doing things, but they're of benefit. They're not things that, again, create artificial levels of dopamine. This is the problem. And another thing that leads to addiction is when we do these synthetically inducing dopamine activities or behaviors without doing hard work. This is what can lead to addiction. These things should be used as a reward. So if your kid wants screen time, they need to do something uncomfortable in order to achieve it. And this also helps the brain develop a comfort of doing hard work. If we reward our kids without having to earn it, this is when things become an addiction. And this is when they hate the work. So if your kid has to do homework, make sure they do the homework to earn screen time. But if you give them the reward before that, and then you want them to stop and do homework, their brain is crashing from the dopamine, and they're not going to want to do the homework. It's the same. It's like giving your kid dessert before dinner. It's going to ruin their appetite. We say that all the time, right? So if you allow your kids to engage in certain behaviors before doing hard work, you're giving them dessert before dinner. You're ruining their appetite. They're not going to want to do the hard work they need to do after. So something I've learned over the years. Benefits of boredom, facts. Is boredom at work a good thing? Boredom at work can be beneficial if it prompts you to reflect on your job satisfaction and career goals. It may highlight areas where you need more challenge or variety, which can push you to look for new opportunities for growth within inside or outside your current job. However, it's important to balance this by asking yourself when your boredom might be a sign of deeper issues with a job fit, and this may need to be addressed. How can I differentiate between harmful boredom and beneficial boredom? Harmful boredom is persistent. It can lead to feelings of helplessness and can negatively affect your mental health or productivity. It can be accompanied by a lack of motivation that doesn't improve even with a change of activity. Beneficial boredom, on the other hand, can be a catalyst for change, creativity, or reflection. It usually resolves itself as you engage in different activities or rethink how you approach your time. Yeah, usually the negative boredom is the one that's when you're in withdrawal. What happens when you embrace boredom? Embracing boredom can allow you to explore new ideas, reflect on your life, and more fully engage with your thoughts. You might discover new interests, develop creative solutions to problems, and gain insights into your personal desires and goals. Boredom can open a space for self-discovery. Can boredom lead to significant personal growth or career changes? Yes. Boredom can be a powerful motivator for personal growth or career changes. It can prompt you to question whether your current path truly aligns with your values and ambitions. This can lead to decisions like pursuing a new career, starting a personal project, or reshaping your life in meaningful ways. I found this for myself in my day job. You can always learn new things, especially if you're doing something that involves technology. There's always new routes you can take, and even do stuff on the side after hours. Do something you enjoy. How does boredom motivate you? Boredom can motivate you by teaching you to rethink the way you're currently living your life. This can push you to seek new challenges and experiences. It can drive you to break out of your routine, learn new skills, or improve your current situation in other ways. It's going to help you get out of a rut. If you feel like you're stuck in a rut, this is one of the ways to get out of it. You can channel the relentlessness that comes with boredom into positive actions that enrich your life. And it takes a while at first. It takes about a month for your brain to naturally rebalance the dopamine. If you find you're on the internet too much or doing other things that are artificially spiking dopamine, it takes about a month to get things in balance. And so being bored is a great way to get there faster. Is boredom a positive emotion? Boredom itself is not typically viewed as a positive emotion, but it can have positive effects. It can give us an important emotional signal that something in our environment or activities need to change. When used as a prompt to explore, create, or reflect, boredom can lead to exciting, fulfilling opportunities and personal growth. While it's not always pleasant, boredom can be a useful part of an emotional life. Calm your mind, change your life. Mental health is hard. Getting support doesn't have to be. And then they have a Calm app. So this is the Calm company. They make a lot of different products. I take their magnesium gummies at night. It's a very good product. This is boredom and the benefits of boredom and things you can do to be more productive when you're bored. So this article really focused a lot on what boredom is, things you can do when you're bored. And I just wanted to point out during the reading of the article that a lot of times boredom is just us going through withdrawal from an addiction. Addiction tends to rear its ugly head when we reverse engineer a lot of the things or a lot of challenges or things that are holding us back. So I want to just share this article. Do you allow yourself to get bored? What do you do? Do you jump from one thing to another like I used to do? If you do, I highly recommend you try being bored, whether it's just looking out the window or going for a walk, spending time with family and friends, maybe give a friend a call. I mean, we're at the point now where we don't even have time to talk to anybody. We just want to text. We see a call coming in, at least I speak for myself. Sometimes you see a call coming in, you don't answer it because you're busy. You're just busying yourself. We don't need to be that busy. You can schedule things in and schedule in your times of boredom. If you need to, if you forget, if you find yourself getting, caught up, put it in your schedule or use prayer as your time to pause. And then after Salah is over, you still take a few minutes. Maybe read the Quran, make dhikr, or just stare at the wall. You'd be surprised how, if you allow your brain to rebalance naturally, you can be comfortable being bored. So I hope this has been beneficial. Inshallah, if it has, please share. Algorithm on YouTube is always changing. I'm always trying to keep up with the game. So please share, inshallah. So till next time, may Allah reward you for being curious and keep tying your camel. Assalamu alaikum.